from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for April 2022. So on April 30th, we have our second new moon of the month of April. We started off on the very first day of April with that new moon in Aries. Well, we are ending April off with the new moon in Taurus, a partial solar eclipse. So this is a big deal for a couple of reasons. Let's break it down. First of all, it's taking place at 10 degrees, which is in the very first decan of this Tauran energy, which means that we are focused on beginnings, initiation, building, creating, giving birth to new foundations, new systems, new structures in our physical realm. Taurus, very much the physical experience of our day-to-day lives, our routines, our self-worth, our self-value, our relationships, our money matters, very focused on this physical realm. So it is a new moon, which is about beginnings anyways. It is about initiating brand new elements in our lives, but we're not really in control of what it is that we're actually going to give birth to because this is a partial solar eclipse. We are now officially in eclipse season, which means that this is a new moon on steroids. This is essentially the universe's way of sorting the things out in our physical realm that we should have sorted out for ourselves, but didn't. A solar eclipse usually gifts us with something. It adds something to our lives, while a lunar eclipse takes something away. It subtracts something from our lives. Now, as much as a gift sounds pretty, it sounds exciting, many gifts that the universe gives us doesn't really appear as a gift when we first receive it. It takes a little bit of time for us to realize that this was actually a blessing. It was actually a good opportunity. So we are going to have the next 6 months in order to figure out how we want to see this gift, this blessing, this reward, because eclipse energy stays with us for approximately 6 months. This is the second set in this particular eclipse energy. We entered into the Taurus and Scorpio axis of the true nodes of the moon back in 2021. And we had our very first eclipse energy in November of 2021. It was a lunar eclipse in Taurus. And that kind of set off our particular life lessons, our life mission to learn from this Taurus and Scorpio axis until the end of 2023. So what do we know about the Taurus and Scorpio axis? First of all, Taurus is earth energy. Scorpio is water energy. Taurus is very focused on the physical realm. Scorpio is very focused on, let's call it the metaphysical realm. It is where we have to do the emotional, intuitive shadow work within ourselves to recognize where it is that we've been holding on to some past dark baggage that's preventing us from truly finding our worth, our value, our happiness, our joy in this physical realm that, of course, Taurus energy rules over. We have to understand that Venus rules over Taurus, so she is the ruler of this particular moon event. And Venus right now is in Pisces, a water sign, a very emotionally intuitive karmic water sign, focused on us bringing everything full circle to provide endings and closures to our self-worth, self-confidence, to our relationship, to our money matters, to our physical realms. Why? Because we've created lives, we've built our physical realms based off of our egoic selves. We are now leaning into letting our intuition, our higher self lead, which means that we have created a huge disconnect, a huge unalignment with our physical circumstances. We just had the full moon in Libra that Venus also ruled, illuminating for us the extremes in our relationships, the unhappiness, the not so peaceful, the not so harmonious aspects of our personal relationships, and where it is that we've been living in extremes, living in chaos, where it is that we have to work harder to find balance, to find clarity in our day-to-day lives. So here we have this new moon that wants us to focus on the new things that we have to build, that we have to create, that we have to give birth to, that's going to support a better, let's call it, vibe for us to live in each and every single day. But again, we don't have a whole lot of control. This is eclipse energy. So we have to understand that this particular Taurus and Scorpio axis is about the lesson of give and take. Give to ourselves, give to our life, give to our physical realms, but what we need to take away from it in order to actually have the space to build something new. This whole Taurus and Scorpio axis is giving us these life lessons to focus on what it is that we're overly attached to here in this physical realm, in the physical circumstances in which we've created, and the emotional roadblocks that we create in our psyche, in our mind space, in our spirit, in our soul, that prevents us from truly reaching the highest level of self-worth, self-value, love, peace, harmony, stability, safety, security, that of course this Tauran energy wants for us so freaking badly. So it is going to be a little bit of a back and forth. We have to understand that Pluto, the great transformer himself, just went into retrograde just the day before this eclipse energy pops off, and hours before Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, took its place of power in Gemini. Please listen to the Pluto retrograde forecast if you haven't already. I definitely went on a rant on what it is that we can expect for the next 5 months. But having all of these aspects built up, intensify one another, is really, really, really kind of giving us a funky picture of what it is that's going to be shook up, rattled up in our physical lives in order for us to realize what it is we've been overly attached to in our physical circumstances, what it is we've been attached to in our emotional and psyche realm that's preventing us from moving forward, for building a better situation for our soul and our spirit to live in, which of course means that the ego's got to take a hit. It's got to take a back seat. Now, we did have a similar eclipse on April 29th of 2014, but of course, I mean, we weren't in the Great Awakening at that time. We didn't have the planets all set up in Pisces energy. We didn't have Pluto at the final degrees of Capricorn. There was a lot of aspects that we didn't have in 2014. So I don't know that it's a huge, huge point of comparison. But if you wanted to kind of reflect back to that time, there are going to be certain qualities, characteristics, and traits, especially with the physical realm in which we've created for ourselves, that we were building back at that time, that are suddenly falling apart for us this time around. We had the Taurus and Scorpio axis life lessons take place in 2003 to 2004 and from 2012 to 2014. So this isn't our first time in this area. However, this is the first time in this area for most people, because most people weren't awake back then. They weren't activated. They didn't, they weren't on their ascension journey. They weren't on their healing journey. So it does kind of change the game, because we're under some very, very tough and intense planetary aspects right now because of the Great Awakening, because of the collective shift that we didn't have amplifying these particular energies back in those time frames. I am going to ask that you go revisit this particular time frame in the 2022 energy forecast that I put out at the beginning of the year, just so that you have a better kind of understanding of the buildup of energies and why these events are so important. They are individual in nature. Like I said, I believe it was this past week's ascension forecast, astrology is just like a bunch of different knobs that get turned to varying degrees that create a different vibration, sound, frequency, tone. And right now we've never had the knobs set at these particular degrees in the cosmos. And it is creating a definite wave of awakening through the collective as well. We have some very powerful aspects taking place here today under this eclipse energy building up to it. It's causing chaos. It's causing dizziness. It's causing a lot of ascension symptoms that, of course, wild card energy with eclipse energy is kind of bouncing all over the place. Can't really be that definitive because we're all at different points in our ascension journey, which means that we have different energy blockages in our physical form. And this eclipse energy is just going to hammer it right to you on where it is that you still have the most work to do on certain areas of your physical body that, of course, are connected to certain energy centers that hold trapped emotions. Again, another reason why you want to dive into the Pluto retrograde astro forecast, because what we're doing now that Pluto is retrograde is we're diving into the shadow self. We're diving into the darkest parts of us. And that dark part needs to be cleared away in order for there to be space for the light to enter into. Keep in mind, Pluto rules over Scorpio, and Scorpio is the axis that this particular new moon in Taurus eclipse energy is on. And we do have to really kind of get real with ourselves on the deepest level possible in order for us to be able to rearrange and reorganize our physical circumstances, our physical realms in accordance to the work in which we've already done within ourselves. So if you haven't downloaded your moon guide, I'm going to recommend that you go and do that. If you're a subscriber and you're already into your dashboard, it's there for you to download. If you're not a continuing subscriber, you can go and just download the moon guide as you see fit from my website. But the reason why I want you to have it in front of you is because I want you to look at the elemental energy profile that we're currently dealing with. And there's a lot going on. We have equal. And if you are someone who does the moon guides on a continual basis, you will recognize that we've had a lot of moon events as of the recent time frame, the recent lunar cycle that have been dominant, equally dominant in both earth and water. Earth is our physical realm. Water is our emotional and metaphysical realm, our intuitional realm. Because there is an equal balance between earth and water, this is a cleansing period. Think of the waves crashing upon the earth. You know, you might think that the earth just stands there and it never changes. It never kind of morphs. But those waves continuously and consistently crashing upon the earth will cause the earth to erode. And this is what we're doing right now. We have to revisit our emotions in those water signs. Let our intuition, let our emotions kind of dictate what it is that we have to continuously be banging our head against a wall about in order for us to actually make the physical changes that are 100% necessary for us to reach the next level of our soul contracts, of self-love, of our vibration and frequency, of healing, of ascension. This is absolutely necessary to the process. Of course, we're kind of low on air, which means this really isn't a thinking time. This is a feeling and doing time. And we are next to nil on the fire energies as well. So compare that to your own energy or elemental energy profile, and you'll be able to see very clearly on whether these energies are going to work for you or whether they're working against you. And again, if they're working against you, they're still working for you. It's just going to cause you to have a different perspective. Why is this happening to me? No, it's happening for me. Even in the worst circumstances, everything is divinely scripted, happening for you to push you into your power. So Venus, being the ruler of this particular moon event, is at a 27 degree, sitting absolutely right next to Jupiter, who is also at 27 degrees, both of them in Piscean energy. What do we know about Pisces energy? Well, it's where endings take place, where closures take place, where soul contracts and karmic lessons come to an end, where new cycles are about to begin. We have Venus and Jupiter both prepared to move into Aries energy here very shortly. But of course, we have to bring things full circle and make sense of things and connect the dots, have revelations, elevate our soul self before we go ahead and jump into brand new paths, brand new lessons, brand new contracts. But Venus and Jupiter kind of coming together is going to illuminate, turn the volume all the way up on what it is that we actually want, need, and desire for ourselves in our emotions, in our relationships, in our money matters. There is a huge amount of growth happening here. Jupiter, of course, is about growth and expansion. Being in Pisces energy, this is the growth and expansion of our dream space, of our imagination, of our creativity, of our spiritual selves. Venus in Pisces, of course, has been kind of stuck in la la land, romanticizing the physical situations that are just awful and uncomfortable, but she would rather delude herself and make herself feel good about it instead of actually putting on the big girl panties that are required to make the changes and transformations in our physical realm. Well, Venus and Jupiter are semi-squaring the sun and the moon in this new moon eclipse energy, and this semi-square is a little bit of a conflict. Why? Because we're very hesitant in this Tauran energy. It's a fixed sign. We're very hesitant to make these changes. We're very hesitant to, take the blinders off and see what goes on outside of the vision of the tunnel vision that we've been having. This is basically creating a little bit of a tension point because that's the only way that we change. And because Venus is the ruler, and Venus sitting next to the great magnifier, Jupiter himself, we're definitely going to see a dramatic shift in our self-love and our self-worth. Why? Because under the full moon in Libra that Venus ruled over just a couple of weeks ago, we got illuminated to where it is that we've been pouring into relationships that have not been pouring back into us, where it is that we've been feeling unstable, unsupported, unencouraged, and where it is that we need to boss up and actually do something about the relationships that we are pouring into. And of course, the relationships that we have in our life are merely acting as a mirror to the self-love, the self-respect, the self-worth, the self-value that we have within ourselves. So this means we have some healing to do. Now, this particular moon event aligns with Uranus, the Great Awakener, who is in Taurus as well. And the two of them come together and harmonize with Mars. Now, Mars is in Pisces, kind of snuffed out in taking as much action as he would like to go after the things that he's passionate about and what it is that he's inspired to pursue. But he's highly intuitive and he's having a lot of great downloads of dreams, of visions, of creative solutions to some of the problems. And this Uranian energy, yes, is the Great Awakener, but also kind of triggers us to rebel a little bit against the things that are making us feel trapped and held down and restricted. This Uranian energy wants a revolution, wants change, wants transformation, and makes it a lot easier for us to accept those changes coming in from our higher selves because, of course, there's a lot of Piscean energy floating around this new moon event. We have to also remember that Pluto, like I said, just went retrograde just hours before this new moon peaks. And before Pluto actually went retrograde, it made a very powerful trine with Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, who is already in its pre-shadow period at the final degrees in Taurus before it shifted into taking its place of power and stepping into the throne in Gemini energy. This particular energy, especially the Tauran energy, also harmonized with Uranus, the Great Awakener, who wants us to open up our highest intellect to the information coming in from the cosmos, taking it down into the lower intellect, which Mercury rules over, in order for us to sort through our choices. And of course, as you may know, Mercury is set to go retrograde May 10th, which is going to rewind us, revisit some things, re-edit our plan, recalibrate, reorganize, restructure a lot of things, and having that overlap in this eclipse energy and in retrograde season is definitely going to do a number on us in our inner realms. We have a lot of Saturn energy taking place, which is the Lord of Karma, mind you, ruling over not only karma, but roles and responsibilities with the karmic contracts that are kind of being revealed at this particular point. And Saturn is making some not so nice aspects with both Uranus and Mercury. Now, Uranus and Mercury are really working hard to open our mind space up to seeing things from a different level, a different perspective, making the changes and the transformations in our inner realm as quickly as possible. But of course, Saturn likes to go low and slow and really test us to see whether or not we've learned the lessons that we have to learn in order for us to progress and move forward. So there is a little bit of friction there. And Pluto is also making some friction with Mars, because Mars, of course, is in Piscean energy, passive aggressive, not really taking action on a whole lot. And this is creating a lot of problems because now is the time for interaction is very much needed. Now, when I say interaction, what does that mean? Well, Pluto is leading that charge, taking us into the shadow self. A new moon puts us in the dark phase of the moon, illuminating all of the negative thoughts, the negative feelings, the negative memories, the negative sensations that our past pain and trauma has created within us that many of us spend an eternity running from. We can't do that on this Taurus and Scorpio axis. Scorpio energy is the alchemizer of the zodiac, which means that we have to feel what it is that we have to heal. And many of us fail to feel the darker parts of our existence. We have to recognize what it is that we've been running from, what it is that we're afraid to face within us, because those, my friends, are the roadblocks that are preventing our blessings from coming in, from actually anchoring into our physical realm. So we're going to have a lot of activation points really illuminating for us what it is that we have to face. Our fears, our darkness, our anger, our ugliness. Why? Because that is a part of us. And when you kind of, disassociate with that or compartmentalize it, you're dividing yourself within your power. The only way that we can reach our whole power, our level of wholeness in our authority, is to integrate the darkness with the light, to turn that pain into a source of power. And that's definitely an opportune thing to focus on as we go through this new moon energy and recognize that this eclipse energy is going to be throwing unexpected wild card situations and scenarios at us. And it's up to us not to dive into the darkness and see it as a bad thing. We have to constantly be pushing ourselves to stay in the awareness that everything is happening for us. Now, granted, it might take the whole 6 months of this eclipse unfolding for us to realize that it is a gift, that it is a blessing. But trust me, the universe gives us what it is that we have failed to take ourselves. And the universe is constantly pushing us into the best version of ourselves, onto the path of our soul's purpose, our soul's mission. And for that reason, we have to be grateful. We have to be thankful. We also have to ride the waves. So please, please, please be very consciously aware of the topics, of the themes, of the feelings that are arising within you. Do the work. Download the Moon Guide. It is your assistant, your guide to shadow work, to uncover the ugliest parts so that you can alchemize that into a source of power and align with these energies so that you can reach your highest, truest soul's potential in the shortest amount of time.